The North Korea, meanwhile, reported on the U.S. drone strike which killed Iran's military commander Qassem Soleimani, saying the Middle East could become a, quote, graveyard for the U.S. They said the U.S. is being bogged down in a war in the Middle East. How will this impact possible developments on U.S.-North Korea front? And does it send a message to North Korea's Kim Jong-un? Joining me live from Washington, D.C. for an in-depth analysis is Scott Snyder, Director of the U.S. Korea Policy Program at the Council on Foreign Relations. Scott, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Glad to do so.
Now, this latest spark between the U.S. and Iran, is this not a hiccup in North Korea-U.S. talks, as Washington's efforts to deal with Iran in the coming weeks could put North Korea on the back burner for the U.S.?
Well, a lot depends on how things play out in the U.S.-Iran relationship. Right now, we're kind of focused on how will Iran respond to or retaliate for the death of Mr. Soleimani. I think that the key thing to watch is Mr. Begin's schedule as Deputy Secretary of State and as the Special Representative. If the situation with Iran ends up taking a lot of effort and time at the State Department, then Mr. Begin's pledges to be able to focus on North Korea while also being Deputy Secretary of State could be tested by the demands associated with the Iran account.
Now, do you think, Scott, that it could prompt Pyongyang to perhaps launch a stronger provocation as North Korea's Kim sees Trump focus on Iran when Kim Jong-un was really trying to execute a large-scale information and influence campaign against the U.S. and the international community to get sanctions lifted?
Well, my own view is that North Korea usually conducts various tests based on its own schedule and needs. But we also know that the North Koreans have been working on a new weapons project and have indicated that they are feeling unrestrained by their previous pledges. And so I think there is a question as to whether any tests that North Korea may make may get as much attention from the Trump administration as the North Koreans might desire. Of course, they've left the door open to possible negotiation with the U.S., but they've really taken no initiative, and the likelihood that Trump is going to reach out to North Korea while focusing on Iran is probably lessened.
But on the flip side, do you think North Korea's Kim Jong-un views the U.S. killing of the Iranian general as a message from Donald Trump to North Korea or to Kim Jong-un himself? I mean, could this change Kim Jong-un's thinking about the U.S. ability to use force?
The really interesting thing about this set of events is that it crosses a line in U.S. policy from using drones in order to kill non-state actors to a case in which a state actor has been directly affected or killed by a U.S. drone attack. And so I think that development is one that could blur lines. It could blur red lines, and it could give North Korea some pause because it shows that President Trump is not constrained by longstanding U.S. policies that have prevented the U.S. from engaging in that kind of activity.
Considering all that's happened between North Korea and the U.S., as well as the developments between U.S. and Iran, what is your overall outlook for North Korea-U.S. talks in 2020?
Well, I think that the North Koreans had put themselves on a path to take advantage of any particular vulnerability or need or outreach that President Trump might make in view of his political needs domestically. Or alternatively, to prepare for engaging with whoever is president in the spring of 2021. Both of those requirements involve the same kinds of activities, and it's really just a question of whether a target of opportunity arises to make some kind of a short-term deal with President Trump.
All right, so we'll have to wait and see how it develops between North Korea and the U.S. And there's no denying the fact that this U.S.-Iran crisis or conflict will have more or less an impact on the U.S.-North Korea front as well, right?
Yes, it really it ties the U.S. Hands in terms of focusing on Iran, and then the question becomes whether or not it's possible for the U.S. to manage in the event that North Korea tries to take advantage and generate an additional crisis at the same time as the Iranian events are unfolding.
Scott Snyder, Director of the U.S. Korea Policy Program at the Council on Foreign Relations in Washington, D.C. Many thanks, as always, for your valuable insights. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.